Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. Well, it's happened. The floodgates have opened. The pre-draft rumors are here. We have so much to get into. We've got big names to talk about. Zion Williamson, Bradley Beal, draft picks potentially on the move, tons of stuff. Before we get into all of it, though, because this is such an amazing time of year for the NBA and for us as well, make sure you are subscribing to the NBA Front Office YouTube channel. Turn on those notifications. And of course, follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. In fact, do both things. Follow us over on the YouTube channel and then on the podcast side too. That way you jump in the car, you take a quick trip. You could take the show with you, or if you've got time to sit down and watch our pretty faces on the screen, you can do that as well. So again, make sure you are following along because we're going to keep you up to date with everything going on in the crazy, wacky world of the NBA. And Keith, I am getting so excited for our draft night live show. We were just talking before we came on the air about how absolutely insane this year's draft night could be because it feels like every pick could be on the move. I can't wait. The countdown is at 8 days right now.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I think we're going to see a lot of trade action happening and all that sort of stuff. So, that's going to be absolutely huge. And two things. One, I know you mentioned pretty face because I was really struggling to get my hair to sit in a reasonable way.
I did that just for you.
Before we started the show. And I made the comment of, why do I care? I'm not trying to get a girlfriend out of this. So I'm all set on that end, thankfully.
But this is how we know your wife is in the room right now.
Right. She just left. Actually, she has to do a meeting too. But I will also say this to all of front office nation, the front runners, whatever we're calling y'all now. We have yet to land on the full name.
We couldn't settle.
You pushed us over 25K.
Let's go.
Subscriber front. So now you know what we're asking. Let's get to 30.
That's right.
Let's keep it pushing. So tell everybody you can and keep it going. We get a lot going on. As Trevor said, the live draft show in just over a week is going to be really great. Front Office Fridays will continue, and then we're going to go live during free agency and all that stuff late night when things tend to slow down a little bit and we can react to all that happened in the day. So we got a lot of fun stuff planned and coming for you all here over the next month-ish, I guess, is generally when things settle down, is about the middle of July. So busy month coming, but lots of stuff and a lot of stuff to get into today. So where are we going to start?
Well, let's start because Keith, we talked about this on our last show. The Zion Williamson situation with, I guess it wasn't even initially Zion, but just the idea that the Pelicans want to move up. They have the 14th pick, and what they would like to do is get Scoot Henderson. And maybe that means they have to get the second pick from the Hornets. Maybe that means they have to get the third pick from the Blazers. It's going to be one of those two in order to get him. That they want to move up. And my initial reaction was, okay, they're going to want to do it without giving up Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson, which means they're going to package together 14, the Lakers' future first in 2024, 2025, maybe their own future. They've got, I think they have a Bucks first they can put in there, all kinds of different stuff they're going to try to put together to move up. But the more you think about it, it doesn't make much sense for Portland. It doesn't make much sense for the Hornets. So then you get to, is it a Brandon Ingram trade maybe? And then the more I think about it, the more I think it being Zion Williamson makes some sense. And Mark Stein had a little bit on this today about it being more likely that it would be Zion than be Brandon Ingram. And Keith, I ultimately landed at this. If you're the Pelicans, as much as I think about upside and I think about Zion's potential, but if you're the Pelicans and you aren't sold that Zion is ever going to be healthy, this is your last chance. This is your last chance to get this kind of value. He gets injured next season, you're never getting anywhere close to this value for him ever again. This is your last chance. If you're the Pelicans, I wonder how heavily that has to be weighing on them. And then would they opt ultimately to go ahead and surrender Zion for, let's say, the second pick?
Yeah, the last chance stuff is definitely true because if he has another unhealthy season, it starts to get really hard to move him. So to be clear, $33.5 million. That's where he projects to start at right now. It's very likely that it's going to land probably almost exactly on that number. 5 years, $194.3 million is his extension amount. There are no options in there, but there are guaranteed kind of language, I guess is the best way to put it, where if he misses so many games due to prior injuries and the like, the Pelicans or whoever has him under contract can get out of that deal for a lot less money. Now, but it's get out of that deal. That's the key point that I think some folks have missed. People missed this with Joel Embiid's contract, is the old one. When he was injured all the time, they missed this with Jonathan Isaac. You only get out of it if you waive him. It's not, you don't, the salary doesn't reduce, it doesn't go down. It's only the guaranteed amount that you owe him. And the only way to get out of that is to waive the player. So all that said, 33.5 million, that's his trade number right now. Well, it's a little different if this is a deal that's done at the draft, because that would still work off of this year's number, which then has the poison pill because he's got the extension in it, which makes it highly more likely this would be hey, we're agreed to do this deal. The team is trading for, the third pick with Portland, and Portland's going to select Scoot Henderson, and Scoot Henderson's going to put on a Blazers hat, and it's going to look stupid because he's never going to wear it, and he's going to get traded to the Pelicans.
Right.
So there's how this would most likely go down. But to all of this stuff, man, that's tough, right? Because you're trading, in a lot of ways, potential you've already seen that is really good when it plays against fully unknown and unrealized potential in Scoot Henderson. I love Scoot. He's the second player on my board behind Wembanyama in a tier all of his own. So I'm very, very high on him. I think in most drafts, I would have him number one over a lot of guys in other drafts. But as I get into it, I'm like, I just struggle, man, because Zion's an all NBA level dude when he plays. But if you feel like you're never going to get him there. And let's remember, no team knows what his medicals look like better than the New Orleans Pelicans.
Yep.
So if they are like, maybe if everything goes right, we'll get him on the floor for 70 plus games a season. Heck, at this point, they take probably 60, right, and healthy at the end. Then if you don't feel that's the way, this probably is the time to consider moving on from him.
And no team has a better sense of his work ethic as well. A better sense of where his head's at long term. Is this, I mean, look, I'm not saying this is the case, but we've heard rumblings that, hey, someday he might want to be in New York or something like that. Do they have a sense that a couple years down the road, this is going to be a problem, that this is going to be something that they're going to have to deal with? So all of those have to combine, in addition to just the immense potential that he has when he's on the floor. He's one of the best players in the league. He's one of the most mesmerizing players in the league. Like, if you have him and he plays 65 games, you are thrilled to have him on your team. I expect, even at that money, especially at that money, really, because he's a bargain on that deal if he's on the floor. But if you don't have confidence that he's going to be there, and you're the Pelicans and you're staring down the potential of having this anchor of a salary with a guy who's not playing much, maybe you do go ahead and make this kind of move. Now, I think in terms of making this happen, Charlotte is much cleaner because they could just take the salary on and trade the pick. Now, maybe they'd want to send back a couple of contracts or something like that. But
just as they try to send back Gordon Hayward.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? So you could send back some salary, but with the Blazers, then you're talking about matching salaries. That and I don't know which team between Portland or the Hornets do you think would be more motivated to make that kind of a swap, 2 or 3 for a Zion, because that's probably a factor in this too.
Yeah, it's probably tough because if you're Charlotte and you're feeling, hey, we had not the third pick, second pick to this mix. Brandon Miller, it sounds like, is the guy they're still higher on, with LaMelo, with maybe a re-signed Miles Bridges and PJ Washington if he's re-signed. And we've got, Terry Rozier here. We got Mark Williams, who we like at the center spot. All of a sudden, you might be looking at that and saying, all right, let's go. We're good. We don't need to do this kind of a deal. But if you are Portland, you might be saying, all right, well, it's going to probably have to be Anthony Simons because that's going to be your first piece towards the salary match.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put something else in there too, because I don't think that's enough on its own. So now you're talking Simons and the third pick and somebody else off the roster, or maybe somebody else's. That starts to get to be a lot, but then it's Zion and Dame, man, and then resign Jeremy Grant. And now all of a sudden you're in a spot where you've got a pretty good looking group there starting to go forward. So I think Portland's probably slightly more because I think there's more pressure to win right now in Portland than there is in Charlotte.
Mhm.
I will say with Charlotte, so I wanted two things. One, closest team to home for Zion, South Carolina kid. They're in North Carolina, obviously, but that's the closest team to home for him. I believe. I don't think he's closer to Atlanta than he would be to Charlotte, but I'm
No.
gonna make an assumption there.
Yeah.
The other thing is, as you get into it, is if you're Charlotte, it came out today in ESPN's mock draft reporting, which is where a lot of these are all kind of today. We're if we don't do a ton of attributing who had stuff, because a lot of this it's come from like 4 or 5 different people putting it all together. But it came out in ESPN's mock draft reporting from Jonathan Givony that the Hornets had an impressive workout with Scoot Henderson. Now we always what's our favorite game? Why would that be? Right now, some might say, well, that's Scoot Henderson's camp, right? Saying, hey, Scoot's really good. He's in the mix for 2. Or is that Charlotte saying, maybe we'll take him? Hey, New Orleans, hey, any
if
other
you
team
want him,
you really want him, you better trade up to 2. Or could Charlotte, what if they're pulling off a mega coup here? Go ahead and trade up.
I know where you're going. Yeah. Right? Yep.
Now, guess what? We're going to take him anyway. You got to jump up now from 3 to 2. And you got to give us 3 and something to get to 2 if you really want him, if you're in New Orleans.
Can we speak that into existence? A 3-team trade right awesome, at the top of the draft?
Or like almost like a pseudo 3-team trade where it's like one trade followed by another trade.
Right.
That gets to be a little like I used to do stuff like that in Madden, where like I trade 2 picks, trade a guy for a pick, trade those 2 picks for a pick, and then trade up until I could get generally up to like the number 1 pick. But yeah, man, that's the kind of stuff we're looking at here, right? Could be a situation where Charlotte, we've been saying for a little bit now, draft starts with them. They kind of hold all the cards here. And I was very interested because this Zion stuff came out a little bit after the report of, Scoot had a great workout. He's in the mix. At number 2, I was like, why would that be out there? And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe they're playing, you want up, you better get all the way up to 2.
That's a good point. Like if you're Charlotte right now, you want everyone to think you're taking Scoot. Right? Because the pick is not what matters here, right? If New Orleans is dead set on Scoot, getting him is what matters, not the pick that it takes to get him. So just the fact that you have the 2, if all the rumors are you're taking Brandon Miller anyway, then if you're New Orleans, you're talking to Portland and trying to work out a deal there. But if the Hornets are saying, oh no, we're taking him, that changes the entire dynamic. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. This is going to be wild, I think, leading up to and this could all be much ado about nothing. Maybe the price is too high and there is no trade, but there's potential here for some fireworks at the very top of the draft. As much as we've been saying the draft starts at number 2, the trade market may indeed start at number 2, and we could see a big move here go down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we get a lot of stuff in the mix this year just because it is uncertain, right? And anytime you have that kind of uncertainty at a point in the draft, right? Sometimes it comes at 1, like it was last year. Other times it comes at 5, right? And everybody kind of knows these are the top 4 picks. This year it happens to come in at 2, whether, is it going to be Scoot? Is it going to be Brandon Miller? Or is it going to be a trade? What is it going to be? There's that makes it all, far more interesting and fun. And we've got, 8 days until, draft day goes down. And this, a lot can change over the next week. We're going to have workouts, and we're going to have the ones that always get me are late, this team brought in a guy for a second meeting. Or they traveled to see him do a second workout somewhere, whatever it may be. Once you start getting into those things, those are the ones where I always make a note where it's like, all right, there's something here. We've already heard like 3 or 4 different players starting to cancel workouts and the like.
Yeah.
That generally means they've got a promise somewhere from someone is going to take them at some point in the draft. So yeah, it's going to be awesome leading up to it, because this is a very flat, but not in a bad way draft where it's a lot of kind of equal level talents through about 10, 11, 12-ish in this draft. Everybody's got their own tiers and all that stuff. One of my favorite things that came out today. Sam Vecini's draft guide dropped today on The Athletic, which is always awesome and chock full of details and stuff. I laughed very hard because he does tiers, which is how we think about it.
Yeah.
His number, Victor Wembanyama tier, was not tier 1. It was tier Vic, which I thought was great. And then he's got Scoot Henderson in tier 1, and then he kind of goes down from there. But that made me laugh pretty hard.
That's pretty good. Yeah, Sam does phenomenal work each and every year. The other day we had our show, and at the very end we were talking about some stuff, and I said, real ones who are still listening right now, we talked about crossing the 25,000 mark, to mention something in the comments. So I'll just throw this out there now. Earlier in the show, real ones in the comments, let us know, which side would you take, Zion Williamson or Scoot Henderson? If you had the opportunity to have either player, who do you want?
And let us know if it's different for you, if you're Charlotte or Portland.
Yeah.
Let us know if you think about it slightly differently for either team.
For sure. All right. Guess who's back on the trade market? Bradley Beal. Wizards. Talking Bradley Beal trades. Now, this is a very complicated situation because Bradley Beal is the only player in the NBA to have a no trade clause, which means that he can determine where his location is. And so as a result, the Wizards, according to Shams Charania, according to Woj, they are working with Bradley Beal, with his agent Mark Bartelstein, in order to figure out what these trade offers look like and sort through everything and decide what option they want to take. It was funny when it came out like the Wizards are working with Bradley Beal. Like, well, of course they are. They have to. They have no choice. They have to work with Bradley Beal because otherwise they could do all this negotiating and then go to Beal and say, hey, we're going to trade you to whatever team. And Beal could go, nope, no, thank you. And it all comes undone. So this has to all be done in conjunction with each other. They've got to bounce things off each other and figure it out. But Bradley Beal on the trade market, I guess let's start here. Is he a value on his contract? Like, is he? Right?
Well, a bad one.
That's the that's the question though. Like, so what's the return going to look like? Because he's got 4 years left on his deal. He's making 57 million at the end of it. 200 million.
Close, 207.
I knew it was right.
$1,740,400. So $207.7 million.
It's a lot
in 4 years, and the no trade clause. The 15% trade bonuses in there doesn't matter because it would take him over his max. So that's going to get wiped out. But and the player option on the last deal, just in case it all goes great.
And he turns 30 right before the calendar year flips for the NBA.
Yep.
End of this month.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
what do we make of all of this? What is Bradley Beal finally going to be on the move? Is that going to actually happen? I mean, I think it would take the Wizards decide, like, and we can get into this in a minute, but there may be a domino effect here. Like, if Bradley Beal gets traded, what does that mean for Kristaps Porzingis? What does that mean for Kyle Kuzma? What does that mean for the Wizards' direction moving forward? But first and foremost, what does a Bradley Beal trade even look like given his contract?
First part is it's got to be somewhere he wants to go, right? Because of the no trade clause. So if he doesn't, you don't send him somewhere he wants to go, he's just going to say no, right? And I've jokingly said, if you're going to send him to Charlotte, he's going to be like, no, I'm good. I have no interest in that. I don't want to go. Second, you could offer a lot back in return in terms of players because you got to match salary on it. We just went through the overall numbers. This year's trade number, assuming this happens in the off season or the new league year, I should say, better put, July 1st, $46.7 million. That's what you got to match on Beal. Slightly less than that if you're doing it right now. The other piece is you're going to have to, even if we are, I shouldn't say we. Let me speak for myself, and then you can chime in if you agree.
Sure.
Even if I believe that's not a great contract and it's not very good, it's not like he has complete zero trade value. Teams are still going to look at it and say, this guy's still a 25 point per game scorer. He can still get it done. He's still a pretty good shooter. He's done well playing as a primary guy. He's done well playing as a secondary guy on teams. Teams are still going to want to trade for him if they feel like we can we can make the deal, send out enough, and have enough left behind to put a major, contender on the floor with Bradley Beal, being in the fold. So that turns into, a lot. It's going to have to be a big trade package. I don't think this is going to be one where you get, two good young players and, matching salary and then like 3 first-round picks. It's not going to be anything like that, but it is going to be a big package in terms of here comes, 3 players to match salary. One of them's probably a high dollar player. And then maybe the Wizards can extract a pick out of somebody. I'm going to guess probably not, but maybe they can if it's a team that's like, we're going to be picking in the mid to low 20s anyway. Let's throw a pick in there.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, that's probably best case scenario. Mostly if the Wizards are doing this, this is about resetting their books moving forward and moving off of a big contract and all of that. If they can pick up some pieces here or there, then that's great. But I agree. I don't think the return, like the name Bradley Beal, because he's been on the trade market forever. It was only a couple of seasons ago. He was averaging over 30 points per game. I think I don't want to say more name than game, because that's not really true, but it's the contract that's factored. Yeah. It's the contract that makes this a more difficult trade, where I don't think it's going to get, the deal isn't going to be as rich as what his name and his production would suggest, because this contract is pretty rough. Now, we've already heard Miami as a potential suitor. Miami's got so much money on the books. Let's say Miami is the team, and we've heard Boston has been a team because he's buddies with Jason Tatum. I mean, just in talking about potential landing spots, where does he wind up? And let's say it is Miami. How does Miami go about getting him?
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia has also been mentioned.
Yes, Philly as well.
In that situation. So yeah, I mean, Miami, you probably starting with Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Right. Because you certainly don't need both of them. That's not anything you need. They can't really play together. So you're going to move, probably Hero in that, and then other stuff to match salary. And if for Washington, you said it, then it becomes we're rebalancing our books, right? We're shedding this long-term money. Yeah, we take on Hero's money, but at what is that? Roughly 2/3 of the cost, maybe 3/4 of the cost. So that becomes a thing there. So, yeah, man, that's what you'd be looking at in Philly, unless you somehow tie it into a James Harden move where Harden's going out and you can tie it in that way. In some form or fashion. You're probably talking Tobias Harris. If it was Boston, it would definitely have to be Jaylen Brown. The Celtics could get there by piling together a couple other salaries if they wanted to go a slightly different direction. But I don't think that's where they would want to go, because then having Tatum, Brown, and Beal, that's not feasible. You can't do that on your books. You'd be way too top heavy. So my guess is they'll find a trade. It's just going to be, where can it go? I just pulled this up. I'm going to assume you don't have his player page up in front of you on Basketball Reference.
Beals? I do not.
Yeah. Okay, good. How many games combined do you think he's played the last 2 seasons?
80.
You're really close. 90. Played at 40 in 21-22, and then 50, 22-23. Now, last season, the one that just ended, that's a little weird, because there was some stuff of he probably could have come back
right
at the end of the year, and they weren't trying to win anymore. So even if we take that out of the thing. But here's the thing. Last year in 50 games, this is why the more name than game does not fit for Bradley Beal. He had a career high 50.6% from the field.
Incredible.
Yeah, 17.6 attempts per game. That's really good. 36.5 from 3. He still got to the line 4.6 times per game, 84%. Averaged 5.4 assists per game, 3.9 rebounds. He's never going to be a good defender or rebounder. That's just not what he does. But good playmaker. Averaged 23.2 points per game. That was his kind of lowest field goal attempt since he kind of became Washington's prime guy post John Wall there. So, I mean, that's Those are really good numbers. And that's going to be why, despite how much money he makes, a team is going to talk themselves into,
Yeah.
well, we can make it work, right? Well, we're smart enough to build out the rest of the roster around him. We can make it work. We can cover for the deficiencies as far as defense and availability go. We can, we can make this work. If I had to guess right now today, I would guess probably the Heat that's just been out there for, I don't know, feels like 5 years
Yeah.
now running. It feels like maybe it's finally time, but I don't know, man. I think this is going to be. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's a bidding war, but I think it's going to be more involved than people think it is right now.
I mean, like you're saying, this is a very, very talented player. That's when we're talking about the contract, we're not trying to say that he's not a good player or not a player that teams would want. Teams would love to have him. It's just the complications of the deal, how much of the cap that's eating up, what that means building out a roster. Essentially, you're committing to him being, at worst, your 1B guy moving forward if you're going to make this move to go get Bradley Beal. So you have to be comfortable with that. You have to be comfortable with the injury situation and the fact that he's turning 30. He's 6'4". What's his longevity going to look like? Because you look at how long this contract goes on. What's that deal going to look like when he's got a player option for $57 million in year 4? All of this matters when teams are looking at what they're willing to trade for a player. But all of that aside, if you're a team and you believe Bradley Beal is the piece that puts us over the top, then you go get him. You go get him and you deal with the rest later as it comes. But it's going to be fascinating to see how his market plays out, because we also have to remember that, let's say it's Miami, and let's just the Tyler Hero example, right? Yes, it makes tons of sense for Tyler Hero to be in the deal, but what if Bradley Beal says, "I love Tyler Hero, I want to play with him"? Then what do you do, right? Like, because he can decline a trade, not just because he doesn't like the location, but if he thinks too much is being sent back, he can say, no, I want to play with those guys. I'm not going to approve this deal. You need to take this guy out and this guy out because I want them to be on the team when I get there. That can be a factor in this process as well.
Yeah, I would keep just an eye on the Clippers.
Uh-huh.
I know they're super expensive, but the Clippers could get there. They'd have to pile together a few contracts, but they could get there to make it happen. It'd be absolutely hilarious, and I would take days to stop laughing if it was the Warriors, just because I think that'd be great if they just thumbed their nose at all this super tax and we're like, we'll continue to do what we want. That would obviously have to include likely Jordan Poole in a trade, but that's not going to be a thing. But anyway, it's going to be fascinating. Let's go on to a couple more Wizards things. So I had this morning because just talking to some people that are close to that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I got told was it's not a lock that Porzingis is going to opt out. What the thought process was that under the old Wizards front office, Porzingis would have opted out and then would have re-signed for a long-term deal, something probably 4 or 5 years in length that got him, well north of $100 million, probably something in the $30 to $35 million a year range. The new front office has come in and they have made it abundantly clear in basically every interview that they've done, including in their opening press conferences and all these things and all the reporting around it pre this Beal stuff. We can rebuild. We have the go ahead if we want to. And that's been a very different tune than what Washington has sung in the past. Generally, the Wizards have been team, let's compete for the, we used to say compete for the 8th seed. Now,
right. They want to be in the mix.
Yeah, right. We want to be in the play-in tournament and in the mix there. So this change in tune here, Kyle Kuzma is opting out no matter what. That's a done deal. I think he's gone almost no matter what now. But if they trade Beal and lean full heavy into a rebuild for Porzingis, it may sound weird because what I think a lot of people would think is Porzingis may want them one out too. But I think what's more likely is he opts in knowing, well, they're not going to give me the 4 or 5 year, $120+ million deal. So I'm going to opt in for my $36 million. And then they trade me whatever that happens. I'm a free agent the next year, whether it's Washington or another team, they'll have my bird rights and off we go. So that's where I think it now seems like it's far more likely that Kristaps Porzingis could opt in for his contract than it is that he just opts out and resigns.
That is fascinating because that could put a pretty big, I mean, look, people didn't realize it as much because he was in Washington, but he was fantastic
Great.
last season. He was
Yeah.
very,
Best
very
season
good.
he's ever had.
And if he opts in and the idea is to opt in and move him in a trade, that spices up the trade market that much more because I think, I mean, teams, based on what he did last season, teams should be willing to go after him. But I'll also say this, if I am Kristaps Porzingis' agent and there's any way to get a sign and trade, a 4-year to something, given the injury history of this guy, I'd be nervous as hell about, hey, we're just going to pick up the player option and then we'll hit free agency next summer coming off the season he just had.
Yeah, obviously, if there's a sign and trade that presents itself, let's all be grown-ups and be realistic. They have an idea of what's out there already. So if they think there is a team that's actually, hey, we can do a sign and trade or whatever, and they know Washington's at least considering it, we're amenable to it, let's figure it out. Then you get in a spot where, then it probably makes more sense for him to opt out and you go that direction. So, but it's just the option of opt out to re-sign with the Wizards, that seems to very much be off the table now. And now, if they're pivoting to a full rebuild, if you're Porzingis, pick up my option, sit on that last contract, and then we'll figure it out after the fact. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on with the Wizards. One of the kind of teams that in most years is just kind of
there.
Yeah, kind of float by. They're going to be a key team to watch here over the next couple of weeks.
I need to go back to something that you said. You said Kyle Kuzma is gone. Did you mean what you meant? Like Kyle Kuzma? Because to me, I thought, well, then why the hell didn't you trade him at the trade deadline if you think that he's going to be gone?
Because it was different
front office. I understand that, but if you're the Wizards, are you really okay with just letting that value walk out the door? Are you looking at a sign and trade, or what are you?
You'd like to make it a sign and trade, right? If you can, but I think it's the difference between him and Porzingis is Kuzma probably tops out at about $25 million a year. Being reasonable.
Yeah.
He also fits every single team that has cap space could use Kyle Kuzma, right? There's not one. Maybe Orlando's the only one that maybe doesn't make sense for him, right? Because they've already got
all the wings
forwards coming out of their ears, but he fits everywhere else. One of my favorite places for him that I wanted to chase him for a while now has been Indiana. I thought Indiana would be a perfect spot to go get him and move him in. So I think what's going to happen is I think he's looking at it and saying, I'm not sticking around to rebuild. Get me out of here. I'm headed out of town. I'm going somewhere else. And if you're the Wizards, it has to be a sign and trade that makes sense. Because if you're this current front office, you probably have the carte blanche a little bit to, hey, we're just wiping our hands here, right? We would have traded him if we were in charge 4 months ago at the trade deadline, but we weren't. And here we are now. And they're not just going to do a sign and trade just to do a sign and trade to just take back salary. Like that's not going to be a thing. But I'm sure there'll be some level of, hey, I'm going to Team X. All right, well, let us call Team X and see, because he won't be able to get anything more out of the team via sign and trade than they could get anyway, and do that. That has become a very, very common thing now. It used to be extremely rare that teams were like, oh yeah, we'll help you out. Let's make it a sign and trade. Now that's become more of a thing that happens. But yeah, I think this Wizards team is going to look very, very. I mean, the names you have on the screen there. I mean, 3-4 of those guys might be back next year, and that's probably on the high side. Like, I think they're going to look completely different.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they do really tear this thing down, because the more you hear about the possibility of them tearing it down, the more real it becomes. Because like you said, this is the team that has resisted going this route for so long, and now you've got a new front office, and maybe they're ready to rip the Band-Aid off and go for it. If I'm their front office and I've got a guy like Kuzma, though, I'd be trying to get a deal done and then flip him post December 15th if I can, if that's the decision. Because I think he does have value, but it's much easier said than done as well. If I'm a Wizards fan, I'm not thrilled with the idea of, hey, we're just going to let him walk away. But you also have to stay in the big picture here too.
Yeah, different front office, right? Yeah, if it was the same front office, then you slander him and kill him for doing this. Since you have it up here, just so everybody knows too, if you notice on Spot Track, now look at the little number below the big salary number. That's the percentage of the cap.
Yep.
start training yourself to think percent of cap moving forward in future years. That's going to be something we're going to start referring to quite often here. Green means player option, red means restricted, blue is a unrestricted free agent, and that number you see on the blue ones, those are cap holds that are on those blue ones. So that's where those come from.
So that's going to be important to reduce some of the sticker shock as the cap goes up, because you're going to hear things and you're going to be thinking in terms of the previous cap, and you're going to go, wait, he's making how much? Oh, okay. It's actually this percentage.
Especially
of the cap.
in a couple of years.
Right. Exactly.
When the TV deal comes in. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. All right. Let's move on to a little bit of draft trade news. The Warriors could be offering Jonathan Kuminga, who we know is going to go on a summer tour. He's going to go destroy everybody in summer runs.
Coming to an LA Fitness near you.
And they may be offering him to trade up. The Warriors have the 19th pick in the draft. What I love about this draft is it feels like everybody that is 19 through 30 wants to move up. Everybody that's in the lottery is willing to move back if need be, or even the late teens is willing to move back. Seems like every pick is potentially, everybody is willing to move up. Everybody's willing to move back. Everybody's willing to move just about anywhere. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. But what do you think about the Warriors specifically trying to trade up into the draft, maybe targeting late lottery here? I don't know how high they can get with Kuminga and 19.
Yeah, the good news is, draft picks until they're signed have no salary value as far as salary matching goes. So you could, if I don't know, if Orlando at 11 is like, hey, we want Kuminga, you can just do Kuminga at 19 for 11 and be done. You could just do Kuminga for 11 if you wanted to, because his salary is low enough. You can almost make that work very easily. His salary is so low, anybody should be able to, within reason, make a trade work there. So what that turns into, in these cases is these trades are very easy from a function and mechanics to get done. They're a lot harder here because if you're the Warriors, he's not your best kind of guy from that whole draft and second, whatever they called it, second window iteration, whatever it was going to be, keep the Warriors.
The two timelines.
Yeah. That second timeline that makes it a 20-year dynasty and all that stuff. He's the best of that bunch. I mean, Poole probably realistically is, but Kuminga is right there because he's not on a new giant contract. So that becomes a whole thing, right, for the Warriors of, or where do we want to go with this, right? With Kuminga, are we, do we want to do this? But my thought, what this is kind of signaling, and again, this came out of the mock draft on ESPN, which can't recommend, go read enough. There's like, a nugget on every single team all throughout those. This signals to me is we're trying to go all in one more time around Curry, around Thompson. This signals to me we're going to get Draymond re-signed. He's not going anywhere. We're going to make that work. We've got probably a 2-3 year window left with those guys. We're going to push all in, try to get this done, and then we'll pick up the pieces. 2-3 years from now when they all age out and probably retire and are moving on. And if they don't feel like Kuminga's ready to be a 30-minute a night rotation guy, then move him for a vet and figure it out, or move them to trade up to get an impact kid that you think really can be before you run into, well, now we got to re-sign Kuminga and all that stuff. Because this could also be a little bit like, let's kick the can down the road a little bit with our, future super tax concerns.
Keith, in this scenario, if you've ever seen Wolf of Wall Street, the NBA with their new CBA is the federal regulators, is the SEC there, and they're threatening, right? And this is the Warriors screaming, "We're not leaving," into the microphone, saying, "We're just gonna keep adding salary. We're gonna."
That's kind of why I want him to trade for Bradley Beal, just because he's hilarious. And just be like, yeah, super tax, cool. Here's your $10 billion check. See you later.
Have some fun coupons.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Go fund a second hole G League. Let's go. We're relegate everyone to below us. It is funny. I think it probably is more though that let's kick the can down the line a little bit, try to get a kid who can play right now, can fill in, and then doesn't need re-signed until after maybe that core kind of ages out a little bit.
So something to keep an eye on. The Warriors, perhaps a team to move up, and a number of teams. We've heard Indiana with their multiple firsts in the 20s potentially could move up. The Nets have, I believe it's 21 and 22. They could package those together, try to move up. there's lots of teams that could look to make moves here. So again, part of why we're so excited for draft night this year. But let's wrap things up with this. The Mavs could be interested in Bojan Bogdanovic with a draft day deal. Now, their 10th pick, I've been saying, along with the Portland pick at 3, those are, I think, the two most likely picks to be on the move. I think those two teams are very incentivized to make those moves. Portland trying to build a winner around Damian Lillard, the Mavs trying to build a winner around Luka and most likely Kyrie as well. And so Bogdanovic seems, 34 years old, but he had a fantastic season this last year. And if you're the Pistons and you can get 10, I know they don't want to move Bogdanovic, but that's pretty good value depending on what else is in the mix in terms of salary matching. To get the 10th pick for a 34-year-old, that's pretty good value if you're the Detroit Pistons. And then it puts them in a situation where they would have the 5 pick and the 10 in this year's draft, which I think is fairly deep with a decent amount of talent. Could be a nice move for them as well.
Yeah, in the Monty Williams hire for the length of the contract, no, this has nothing to do with the size of that contract, but the length of that deal, that signals they're going to be patient, right? They are content to just kind of build here and build on this. So it may not need to be an immediate let's try to win right now. So yeah, if you're trading out Bogdanovic to get in another kid with to already go with your 5th pick, yeah, that makes sense. And they would get Tim Hardaway Jr. back. I know people feel a certain way about him, but it's not like he can't play at all, right? So he's not, he could step in and play a rotation role as a shooter. I like Bogdanovic more, which is why I would assume maybe the Mavs would want to be on this. But yeah, this is kind of interesting, right? This is more of a traditional type of draft trade of a we're pretty good right now. We need to add some talent in the in the immediate, and let's kind of go from there. So yeah, we'll see. I'm with you though. This Dallas pick, I'm gonna be pretty surprised if they make it. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for them to add. It would have to be somebody slips that's like, oh my god, that guy's the perfect fit for that team, and I just don't know that I see that happening.
Yeah, same. I agree. I think this pick is going to be on the move. Will it be for Bojan Bogdanovic? Maybe, but interesting in terms of this deal and whether or not the Mavs will actually pull the trigger on something like this, and if Detroit is willing to make this move as well. But I think it could make sense for both sides. And more than anything, this just confirms even more that the Mavs are indeed, they're going to be in lots of trade talks heading up to draft night, and I would be surprised, like you would, Keith, if they are the ones actually making the selection, or if they aren't making the selection for someone else, the proverbial, put the cap on, but we know that's not really the team that he's going to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the I hate that part.
I wish we could change that.
Yeah, I just wish there's a way we could fix it and say, because it also feels cheap to the kid too, right? Like this is his big day, for the start of his professional career, and all of his first pictures and everything are with a hat for a team he's never going to play for. And when it's a more natural trade, right, that happens, oh man, this guy was still there, now we're going to do this trade later in the draft year. Sometimes it's 10 picks later or whatever, and then it happens because then we usually get the picture of the two guys swap hats, and we kind of have the fun of that whole thing later on in the night. Those ones I don't mind, but it's the ones where we know this guy's not really actually going there. Like, I don't know, it just feels dumb. And we've seen the kids too. I think this is the difference now in the social media era, right? They all have Twitter on their phone. So like, oh, Woj says I'm going to this team instead. They don't really ever put the hat on, right? They'll put it on very briefly, and then other than that, they kind of half hold it and they'll talk and whatever. And then it gets weird for the interviewers because they're like, so are you excited for playing with Damian Lillard?
Right, playing with a guy that you're not actually going to play with?
Yeah, I'm excited to play against him, when we play his team. But yeah, it gets a little awkward with that.
It really does.
I wanted to answer something that a couple of people, or maybe it's the same guy, asked on a couple of videos. Best ways to keep up with all this stuff and all this news and everything. Obviously, tune in the front office show, right? Because we're gonna cover everything worth covering. The two places we pull most of our information from, obviously, a lot of it we see direct ourselves on Twitter, but where you can follow along with a lot of stuff. Real GM, right on their main page, has their wiretap, which is all the major reports that are out there are all right there. Also, Hoops Hype's rumors page is wonderful too. They track and cover everything. that also keeps you protected a little bit from the just Joe random 15 followers says, oh, I heard, Bradley Beal and Damian
Oh
Lillard
yeah.
are getting traded for each other, and then those are the kind of things we're never going to cover because it's not, generally it's not real. Sometimes people with low follower counts get it, right?
It
It
happens.
happens. It 100% does happen with that. We also have all seen very famous examples of,
And
I know
not.
the baseball one of the guy who said Bryce Harper is signing with, and then he put it with all 30 teams, and then proceeded to delete the other 29
The incorrect answers.
Yeah, when it was incorrect. But the reality is there is a if you follow on Real GM's wiretap right on their homepage or on Hoops Hype's rumors page, you're going to get all the main stuff. And that's going to give you a little snippet. And then we'll come here and break it down and add our own analysis and color and flavor to all of it. So, but you put your notifications on. That's the best way to not get fake Woj, fake Shams, and use your lists. I created a newsbreaker list years ago that has all the top NBA newsbreakers. I keep that up on both Twitter and on TweetDeck, so that way I can just go to it if I'm confused at all. And every once in a while, like somebody will retweet something and I'll be like, oh wow, and then I'm like,
and then
then I usually go to check to make sure it's the real thing.
Yeah, you look at the handle and there's a 1 instead of an I or something like that in the name, and it's people do dumb stuff.
L's instead of I's sometimes. Like those are a good way around it. And it's just it's that time of year.
It is.
Unfortunately, it's easier than ever to pull those things off on our favorite Twitter machine.
That's right. Be careful out there. Be careful out there. But of course, make sure you're subscribing here to the NBA Front Office Show. We'll keep you up to date on everything that we possibly can going on in the NBA world. And we've got a month that's going to be just awesome. It's going to be so much fun. So much fun. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you're subscribing. Turn on those notifications as well. Till next time, stay safe and see you.